Morning. I want to thank you for coming and supporting Ordinary Zen Sangha. We can't do this without you. One of the questions I get asked sometimes is, well, how long have you been into Zen? I'd like to mimic Nick's answer, which would be, it's complicated. What's our purpose here on the planet in the first place? We say that with Ordinary Zen, it's about getting to know ourselves. Well, isn't that our whole life journey to begin with? It's already there. This is what it is. So, in the Heart Sutra, it says, no feelings, no perceptions, no impulses, no knowledge, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind, no sound, smell, taste, touch, or attachment, no world of sight, no world of consciousness. All these different forms of consciousness end up at a place called the repository consciousness, or the storehouse consciousness, where all of our experience creates this sense of I, me, and mine, and how we pursue life. Now, getting to know ourselves is getting to understand what this is. On the path of the Bodhisattva, one of the stages, if there are such things as stages, is transforming this storehouse consciousness into the Tathagata Garbha, which is the womb of Buddha. So I'll just leave that there. What I'd like to do is share an early experience, my first vivid memory. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in Austria in a refugee camp. I was brought to this country in 1952, came across on a boat along with lots of other immigrants after World War II. And my most vivid memory is standing and being held by, I'm not sure if it was my mother or my father, and looking out over the edge into the deep sea and having some sort of toy and tossing it and watching it hit the waves, disappear. So I had no consciousness of owning, lack, having. All of this was not there. This was total innocence, right? This is before that. But this was an introduction to that, because the reaction of the parent was, now see what you've done. Now you will no longer have that. It's gone. So now, this sort of angelic consciousness that has no bounds is told, oh, there's bounds. And there's coming and going. And there's loss and gain. So this is my first experience of that. Now, of course, I couldn't formulate that into the way I am now. But nonetheless, there was an impression there on my repository consciousness. So we've all have this. We all have this. Now, as I got used to being in this country, one of my first experiences as a toddler was going to a Catholic school because they wouldn't accept me in public school because I didn't speak English. But the loving nun that accepted me just the way I was gave me something that I put in that repository consciousness that helped me through this world, through this life, to stay. So that first lesson of compassion was there. Then, of course, the children can be really cruel. So there's my whole experience of being projected on and being the other and being different. So this whole question that we ask in Zen, what is this? This is a lifelong experience. What is this? And to be able to answer it correctly means not to be identified with these things, you see. These are put on. These are after the fact. What you originally are is pure, perfect Buddha nature. The rest of it, we've acquired, willingly or not. We've accepted it as something that's contributed to this experience. So it's not all negative, you see. It's not positive, negative. It's not like that. It's what we make of it. We make positive, negative. So then another experience I had, now I didn't speak English, right? But my best friend was a Spanish girl that lived next door. I didn't speak Spanish. She didn't speak German. And we played together. So this was an experience of how we communicate without language. Just being present with each other, communicating. We're in this together. These are strong impressions in my life I'm giving you right now. These are early childhood impressions that got me to where I am today. And we all have them. But when we look back from where we are today, we can understand them. And we can let them go if it's a trauma that needs to be let go. In other words, if it's something that's holding us back because we have formed a belief system about ourselves based on these experiences that are not really real, you see, they're real in one sense, but they're not real. So, I don't know. I've never gone through any sort of Jungian psychology experience, diving deep into the subconscious kind of thing, except I do that anyway. I mean, that's just my experience as a meditator. I dive deep and I learn about myself. What is this? Why is it like this? Why is this happening like this? And I don't accept an answer. So I've always been kind of an explorer, always willing to look at what is this, and never really settling on the answer, because it always changes. So even if I was to talk about those early childhood experiences at another time, I would probably talk about them in a different way, and the impressions would be at it from a different angle, multifaceted jewel. So along this journey that we're on, and if there are such a thing as stages, something to consider, that this can all be transformed, this repository consciousness, into the womb of Buddha. What does this have to do with our everyday experience and our things that trouble us? Everything. Everything. I feel really fortunate most of the time for the difficulties and the kind of experience I've had. And when I hear the stories of other people's lives that have been through difficult things and have gained so much from it, they've become wonderful, great human beings because of it, not overcome and diminished. So I think our practice helps us to have that ability to be grounded in reality and not so much caught up in this idea of I, me, mine that's been perpetuated over time. Yeah, it comes back to what I was saying about when I get asked the question, how did you get into Buddhism, or when did this all start for you? When somebody's asking that question, they don't necessarily mean it. It's like, what do you do? Yeah, like, you really want to know what I do? A lot of things. I feel so connected to everyone because I recognize in each of us that same struggle of being a human being. I like to quote the John Prine song, "Hello in There." Mm-hmm. I like to quote it all the time because that's so real for me. Hello in there. I mean it, Thoughts? Questions?
There is this idea that there's separation between perceptions and sensations. Similar thing. So talk about how this idea of blind sight. Mm-hmm. From this, extrapolating from this, is the consciousness is essentially really is the construct that we evolved with to actually facilitate our intercommunication. So if I understand what I feel with the situation, the sensation causes this perception, which then means I can now relate to somebody else. And from that, we can organize. Whoa, this is really wild stuff. The consciousness is really just that's something that we've constructed to allow us to cooperate.
So this morning, Serena was doing an online session with a group of people, and from many different countries, Sweden, Scotland, Rishikesh, Australia, and so it's a meditative exercise, and just laying down and listening to music, especially catered in a way, and it's about an hour long ish, something like that. But weird stuff happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed, especially towards the end, but in the middle, that there was this what is it in Vajrayana? The clear light session, clear light. I don't know how to express that in words, but just clear light. So towards the end, there was this clearing, throughout the session, just like in meditation, there's a tug of war, there's sensations, there's openings, closings, there's pain, there's rushes of joy, there's all these things that happen. And towards the end, there was this suddenly, and then it was just silent, clear, bright. No more sensations, no more ups and downs, no more tug of war, really. And it was only after when I had gotten up that she was like, yeah, there was the sun was just flashing right, shining right at the end, right at the very end of the session, and rolled out. And that's how it happened. But eyes were totally closed, no other thing going on. And it kind of, how could we not know that the sun's shining even if our eyes are closed? but the interesting thing about that was being there and being very aware internally and noticing a change without knowing where the change is coming. Change just happens. And I told her afterwards, I was like, well, did the sun just decide to shine, or did I make it do that? I can't figure out what the difference is, really. I don't know if that was, I mean, there wasn't, it's not like there was a me and a sun. It's just
was that in my mind or not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's also like, well, influencer and influenced, like, did I influence that, or was I influenced by that, or is it not like that?
Yeah, it sounds like you spent a good amount of time in the repository consciousness.
Yes.
It's similar to what happens to us when we're dreaming. So it's a similar kind of experience, only it's more to conscious dreaming. So so being aware of it, and then it can teach you a lot. It's good. Good. It's a journey.
Relationship between cause and effect is a big part of what holds the perceptions in this repository consciousness, that something happened when we were small and now we are the way that we are, or that because this was a part of my experience, this is the story that I now carry in relation to this narrative that I'm actually creating as I continue perceiving it this way. And it starts to go more into a retro causality, or the parts where you don't know, did I create the cause by being the effect, or was this ever going to show up any differently? Was there an actual cause? They're not needing answers, but the more that we begin to perceive beyond the perceptions that part of consciousness, the more it doesn't really matter. You don't need a name for it. It can be the emptiness. It can be the all consciousness. It could be an entire universe's brain, and it wouldn't make a difference. It's just somehow all a part of it.
Just this
non-linear way.
Yeah.
And you can't put a timeline or time frame to any of it. It just opens things up and allows for more of that light to just be the purity which it is.
Very good. Yes. That's why in Zen, often the teacher will just give a shout as an answer, or be silent, or turn around and look the other way, or it's just this. Really, that's what you're talking about. It's just this. Let's just get real here. What matters. What happens right here, right now? How can I help? What are we doing right now? And all of that is just grist for the mill. Yeah, very good. Thank you. It's a good share. I like the way you articulate things. Anybody else? Zoom world? No? Well, that's it. Thank you. Have a good day.